little bit more about myself. And I want to talk about how to monetize your skill set. I have seen the responses in the chat. A lot of you, you're ready to get started. You've got a tremendous wealth of experience. Like, so many people chimed in with their credentials, and it is truly alphabet soup. So it's definitely time for some of you all to go ahead and take the leap of faith and just step out on faith and do your thing. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about how to monetize your skill set. But I have to tell you something. Half of this conversation today is going to be about mindset. I did not say that in the announcement. I purposely did not say that because when you talk about mindset, a lot of people think it's kind of flu. I know for me personally, I was totally not into talking about mindset. Man, I just want to get money, get straight to the point because I need to start making money. I need to get my business. And one of those things that probably every entrepreneur knows is you ain't gonna make no money if you don't have this right. Okay. You can have the best intentions of the world, right? You can want to save everybody and you want to put out all this good in the world. But if you don't get this right, then you're not going to be successful. I don't care how smart you were, if you were a straight A student or, top of your class, whatever that is. So I'm going to share my screen. I want to do about half slides for this presentation. Let me see here if you can see it. Actually, yeah, let me go. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back to that view. Y'all give me a thumbs up if you can see my slide. I think you can see my slide. Let me look here on my Facebook and make sure you can see it. Thank you so much to everybody that's tuned in this morning. If you're watching the replay, go ahead and hit replay so I can know that you are watching the replay. And I'm not going to go any further until I can see that you all can see. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I actually need to go back one more. So I want to talk about 4 self-limiting constructs that you have to overcome before you even embark upon this journey. Again, I know a lot of y'all want to start businesses. You want to at least freelance, if not start your own business. But we got to talk about these 4 things. And the first of these is fear. Okay. Fear is a basic human emotion. It is hardwired into our system. It actually has protective measures, right? It keeps us from physically harming ourselves sometimes, right? The issue with fear is that it really does capacitate you. It limits you. It keeps you stagnant because fear sees the downside in everything. And if you are courageous enough, I want you to just kind of raise your hand or say, that's me. Is fear one of those things that's been holding you back? And I'm going to look in my chat and see who's doing that. Has fear been holding you back from starting this process? If so, I want to know. Now, fear stands for, and I think you already saw it there, false evidence appearing real. Okay. I'm sure y'all have heard that before. False evidence appearing real. Now, this is one thing that I've learned about fear. Fear will keep you from your assignment. And the reason I think it's important for me to say that, a lot of you all really have this, something is pulling on your heartstrings, and you feel like you've been called to do something greater than what you're doing right now. I know for me, I always felt like, God, please call somebody else to do it. Like, I would see problems or I would see issues and I knew things could be better. Even when I was not just in business, when I was working in other organizations, and I'd be like, oh, God, I'm just waiting on you to send somebody to fix it. I'm just waiting on you to send somebody to make it better. And it would never, ever happen because it was me. I was the person that was supposed to be in that position. That was my assignment. But because I was fearful, I was crippled. And so fear is crippling. It is stifling. It feeds stagnation. It keeps you from taking advantages of opportunity. And it really puts you in this self-made kind of prison because of this false evidence that appears real. It is one of the biggest things that stops people from being greater. And this is how you get over your fear, y'all. We're fearful because we are afraid we're not going to get to a certain level of success. But if you redefine what failure is and you redefine what success looks like for you, then there is nothing to fear. So I know for me, when I first started, I kept saying, well, I'm not doing 101, I'm not going live every day. And I'm not, I'm not making the first year in business, right? I made $6,000. I'm like, I'm not making $10,000 a month like some people. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. And so I started looking at things from a different perspective. You go on my Instagram several months ago, I said, this is what success looks like for me. It looks like the fact that my credit score is a 750 now, and it hadn't been over 625 in 10 years. It's the fact that my husband and I were able to buy a house in a market where you have to pay $20,000 to $100,000 over bidding in order to get a house. It's the fact that I can pay my bills on time every month, right? It's the fact that I'm working remotely, so I have freedom and flexibility. And so there were so many things that I listed there that is successful for me. And so maybe I'm not making, well, I am now, but whatever that is, maybe you're not making $10,000 a month right now. But if you can say or look at the positives and redefine what that looks like for you, then there is no failure. Okay. I have to share this quote that I love that Denzel Washington shared during a commencement speech. And I don't even know what university it was, but he said, this is what he was telling students. He said, fail big, fail fast, and fail often. I love that. He went on to say, every failed experiment is one step closer to success. Y'all, you will always pass failure on the way to success. Every successful person has failed before. There's this great post. I actually should have screenshot it. I'm really bad at LinkedIn anyway. But this speaker, and I think over 1,000 people have commented on it at this point. But there was this speaker that said, he's been speaking for X amount of years, and this particular workshop that he was doing, I think it was a breakout session. There were 4 people that came to his session, and he said, during the course of my career, I have to realize there's going to be times when I completely book out the room. It's standing room only. He said, but there's also going to be times when there's like 4 people there, and that's just life, right? And so if you can just re-engineer your mind and your way of thinking about what failure is and what success looks like, then it really does help you on your way to greatness and just doing everything that you need to do to get your business together or your life together. The second is comfort zone. Comfort zone. Go ahead, give me another. Raise your hand if it's hard for you to get out of your comfort zone. I see some people raise my hand when it came to fear. Who struggles with staying in that comfort zone, right? Okay, it's familiar, it's safe, it's my routine, it's my habits. When I'm in the comfort zone, there is no stress, there is no anxiety, there is no risk. Who struggles with the comfort zone? Because guess what? There is no reward in the comfort zone, right? It's none of those other things, but it's also not much reward either. Let me tell you, there is nothing wrong with the comfort zone from time to time. We need to be low key sometimes. We need to be relaxed every now and then. The problem is people get in that comfort zone and they stay too long. And if you can see this image here, the comfort zone really sets boundaries. It really just limits you from getting where you're trying to get. And the only way that you stop or that you build your capabilities and that you grow so that you can reach your full potential is to step outside of the comfort zone. Let me tell you something that I learned when I decided to do this. And I said this my second year in business because I knew just kind of the way my business was set up. I knew it was going to be soon before I quit working. And so I told myself in 2022, if it scares and I'm going to curse, so excuse me for whoever is watching and listening, I said, Quisha, and I told my husband this, if it scares the shit out of me, it means I'm going to do it. It means it's something that I need to be doing. If it scares the crap out of you, it is something that you need to be doing because the comfort zone is overrated. Now, I'm going to say something that you're not going to believe because every time I say it, nobody believes it. I have fear of speaking. Okay. It has really not been into 2023, and that's because of acupuncture and therapy and some other strategies that I've put into place. I dread most times in public speaking. But I figured out a very long time ago that one, God put some things in me that I need to use to achieve my destiny, right? That two, the world is waiting on what I have to offer. and they're not going to hear my message if I'm not on the stage. So I've just got to learn how to push through and be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I went to, this had to be, it's when I was living in Austin, so maybe 2019, 2020. I went to the Texas Women's Conference, and the keynote speaker for that year was Tracy Ellis Ross, the Blackish actress. And I'll never forget something that she said that I wrote down in my journal, because of course I was taking notes like a fool. And she said, I have a comfortable relationship with fear. And actually, when she came on, she was kind of shaking and all excited. She was like, 8,000 women are here. Oh my God, oh my God. I have such horrible stage fright. And the woman was like, are you serious? She said, oh yeah, absolutely. But I have a comfortable relationship with fear. And I immediately, when I got home that night, I started just researching stars that have anxiety. Adele has anxiety, stage fright. Rihanna used to take shots before, alcohol shots, before she would go on stage. And the list goes on and on. And I thought, okay, Quisha, you're beating yourself up because you have, your body wants to reject its internal organs anytime you have to step on a stage. But the issue is that's just the flesh, right? That's just going to happen sometimes, and you got to learn how to push through that. And so I realized then I had to just continue to make myself do it until I felt comfortable. Because here is why you have to get out of that comfort zone. There is no growth in the comfort zone. There is no promotion in the comfort zone. There is no progress in the comfort zone. And if you're trying to start a business, I'm here to tell you there is no money in the comfort zone. So if you want to get out of the comfort zone, you have to do it scared, people. You have to do it scared. You have to do it ugly. You have to do it rough. You have to do it imperfect, but you have to take the first step. Put yourself in new environments. Don't pick the safe choice. Take a different route. Make a snap decision. For those of you that are like me, type A, logical. You have to think about everything. You need a plan A, plan B. Just do it and think about it later. And that's hard to do, but it's going to make you so much better. And that's the mindset that you have to have if you really want to be in business for yourself. All right. Imposter syndrome is the third one. Raise your hand if you're brave. Raise your hand if you can be honest and say that this is something that you struggle with. Imposter syndrome. Okay. We have all struggled with this at one time or another. This is a feeling that you're not the right person for the job. You don't know everything you need to know to get the job done, to accomplish the task. Maybe they should have went with someone else. Why am I at the table? I really shouldn't be at the table. We've all experienced this at one place or time in our life or in our business. Thank you for those that have said me. Yes, and especially if you're a woman. I don't care if you're white, black, or any other race or ethnicity. Especially women deal with this. Let me tell you something else, and this is a mindset hack that I did. 2022 was a very monumental year for me. I was listening to a podcast. I don't even do podcasts right now just because I just got addicted to them and it was just overkill. So I was listening to a podcast and someone was talking about, I can't remember exactly what was being said, but what I got out of that conversation was move through world the way a white middle-aged man born in America would move through the world. And what I mean by that is, as women, we always think we need another degree. We need another certification. Once I get that certification, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. Once I get that DRPH, right? Once I get the DNP, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. We're never just satisfied with being enough with what we have. And so after listening to that podcast, I said, you know what, Quisha? From now on, you're going to move like a middle-aged white man in America. And what does that mean? That means I don't need another degree. That means I don't care if I'm not qualified. That means I'm going to shoot my shot anyway. I'm going to have the audacity to feel like just because I was born and I'm me, everything that I want should come to me and I'm going to get it just because. And so that really did something to me. When I was afraid to pitch to clients and do things before and, go after them, I stopped being afraid. I started sending emails that said, how can I win your service? I became a salesman. And I saw that, was it a movie or maybe it was a car salesman or something like that? And I was like, you know what? That's kind of a catchy tagline. And so I would send emails and say, what can I do to win your service? Because I started thinking like a middle-aged white man born in America, it's mine if I want it. So you have to think that way as well. Let's see, I've got some notes here, but I tend to get off track. But I want to give y'all some of this information because I think it's really, really helpful. Deanne Butler, she is a DEI consultant. She's on LinkedIn. I follow her on LinkedIn, and she reposted a couple of weeks ago. So again, I didn't save it. I didn't whenever I'm on LinkedIn, I'm just on there and off. And I wish I would have screenshot it. I can probably go find it. But she reposted this quote that said, "You don't have imposter syndrome. You were just made to think you were an imposter for being there." I'm going to say that again. You don't have imposter syndrome. You were just made to think you were an imposter for being there. It really hit me here. It really, really hit me here because there's so much truth in that. It's not that we're not good enough or we don't think we're good enough. Half the time you can't tell us we ain't the shit. Like, you really can't tell me that, right? It's the fact that we don't think that other people think that we're good enough. We don't think that other people think that we should be at the table or we should be in the room or we should have the microphone. That's where the struggle is. And so if you re-engineer your thinking, again, that mindset that's needed to really start a business and be an entrepreneur, you have to start. Let me see if I can give an example. I love to give concrete examples because I think it helps make a lot more sense. I've been in meetings before where everybody at the table is a DRPH or an MD or a PhD or some. Every single 19 people, the 20th person, Quisha, MPH, RN. Everybody else has a doctorate. And it's been, even now and years ago, when I was working at the health department, and I would be like, man, why am I here? Everybody has a doctorate but me. Like, should I really even be here? Why am I here? Now let me sit at a table and everybody has a doctorate but me. I don't need it. If I want to go back and get it, if I choose to go, and I have done a year of a doctoral program, but I stopped. If I want to, if I choose to, and I do, but it does not make or break me. It surely does not put more money in my bank account. But I've been able to re-engineer the way I think about myself, my abilities, and I no longer believe that I am an imposter. So imposter syndrome, your mean brain says, I don't know as much as everybody else. But in reality, you know just as much as everyone else does. I can never forget, I have a book over here, Michelle Obama, and I think it was after her first book. She was doing interviews and doing tours. And she had talked about, I don't know if y'all remember this. Y'all tell me if y'all remember this interview or not. And she was talking about working or living in the White House. And she said, one thing that I remember about the White House is that, and working with people in the White House, is like, they're not that smart. Do y'all remember that? Did anybody remember seeing that? She was like, they're not that smart. They're just not. And this is what we have to remember when it comes to imposter syndrome. Like, some people, they had more opportunity, they had more resources, they had parents that had money, or they had, connections. They had pull to get them where they are. But at the end of the day, a lot of times they're no smarter than you. It just appears that way. And sometimes they can be a lot more confident. So it appears that they're smarter than you, but they're not. Okay. When it comes down to it, it's not about knowing everything. It's about knowing where to find the information. Okay. I will tell people all the time, I have a PhD in YouTube University. I have a degree from Google Community College. I am self-taught in about 80% of things, and the other 20% came because I was smart enough to hire coaches to get me where I am right now. So I'm going to figure it out. And if you did not know, when it comes to being an expert, you don't have to know everything. When it comes to being an expert is someone that knows this much more than the people that they're teaching and that they're training. But a lot of you all keep thinking, oh, if I get a certificate, or if I get another degree, or if I take another class or course or this or that, I'll be no, you just have to know this much more. I just know this much more, maybe this much more. than y'all. That's it. And there's some things that you know much more than I do, but it doesn't mean that one of us is better than the other. Look at that. In reality, your knowledge and skills matches other people's knowledge and skills, right? Let me tell you something that really did it for me. This came from one of my business coaches. Again, the second year in business was just a monumental, just mindset set change for me. But I heard her saying a couple of things. There are people that are less smarter than you, fewer connections, fewer resources, fewer opportunities, and they're in business and they're making money. Some of them have a nice personality and some of them are charismatic, but not always. You know, I'm putting myself out there as a speaker. I really want to tap into dominating the stage, the world one stage at a time, even though I'm a social introvert, right? And guess what? I know I can do it because there are people out there that are speakers and they're horrible speakers. I've paid money to go on virtual trainings, and I'm like, I really would email them and get my money back, but I'm just not going to do that because I didn't pay that much for it. They're horrible speakers, horrible trainers. You know some of these people too. And so, you know, don't allow imposter syndrome to hold you back. Just know that you are enough. Okay. You are enough. The last thing that I want to talk about, and again, if you're brave, tell me this is you: perfectionism. A lot of people are perfectionists. Let me look in the chats here and see if I can see some people saying there. Michelle says, I'm preaching. Thank you. You know, I felt a preach coming on this morning. I did. I felt a preach coming on, but I knew I needed to lay this foundation for people before I go into, okay, let's talk about monetizing your skill set. Because in the comments when people are like, oh, it's the confidence, you know, I don't know where to start and I'm not really sure and all this stuff, you got to get past this first before anything else comes. And so thank you. I think it's Demi. Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Michelle. Absolutely. Perfectionism. I used to be one. I always say I'm a reformed perfectionist. I'm a reformed perfectionist. I am a reformed type A, but I'm still I'm still in the 12-step program. And this is what I love about perfectionists. They're driven. They're extremely organized. They're highly professional. It's great to work with people that are perfectionists until it ain't. Because this is what I dislike about perfectionists. They tend to be overly anxious people. They take too long to accomplish tasks. Talk about hiring a VA that's a perfectionist, whole nother conversation. Takes them a long time to complete deliverables. They have higher levels of doubt and insecurity because their self-esteem and their self-worth is contingent upon their success. That used to be me. If I didn't get the top grades, I'm gonna tell you something. I didn't realize I wasn't the smartest person until I got to nursing school. And when I got there, it was a big culture shift for me. It really did something because I was one of those students that I didn't really have to study. I looked and crammed maybe the night before for a test, or maybe in the next class before, and I got A's and B's. And so when I went to nursing school, it was like, oh, I actually have to like stop working, or I think I went to just weekends and like actually study, and like, oh, there's people that are smarter than me here. That really hurt my little feelings, right? But but it was lessons that I needed to learn, right? Perfectionists, perfect patties. If you're a perfect patty, I'm talking to you. Yes, I know you have high standards, but you can be rigid and you can be unrealistic at times. And if you don't learn how to just do it scared, do it rough, and do it ugly, you will never start your business. You will never start your business. Okay. Some of you all right now, you have projects that you haven't started. You have songs that you haven't released. You got a book inside of you that you haven't put any words to paper. You got a course you haven't created. It's so many different things that you have not done because it is not the right time. It's not perfect. All the T's are not dotted. All the I's are not crossed. Facts about nursing school. Yes, it's savage. And look, and I'm telling you, being perfect, and I've been there and I've done that, y'all. I wasted so much time. I did my very first attempt at business called Diabetes Pros. I wanted to do my website myself. It took me about 7 months. to get that website perfect. It just was not right. I ain't have no money to pay nobody, and I just kept on, kept on, kept on. You know how long that bit? I was in business for 1 year. I made $700 from one speaking engagement. And after 12 months, I closed it up and said, this is not going to work. One, I knew nothing about business. I just knew if I can do a good job for other people, I can do it for myself. But I let this just needing everything to be perfect keep me from really aspiring and going where I need to be. And so this is what I want to tell you about that. You should never strive to be perfect. You should always strive to be a work in progress. You should always strive to get better. You should always be in a state of quality improvement. I call myself the 90-day girl. Everybody that works with me knows we're going to try something for 90 days. If it don't work, we're going to figure out another way to do it. This is life. Even if you're at the top of your game, you still are looking for ways to get better. When I go back and look at some of the curriculums I've developed for organizations and the trainings that we did in that first year, I cringe. I get so shameful. I'm like, I can't believe I charge people for this. It's horrible. It's ugly. But that's how it should be. That because normally we have higher expectations of ourselves and our work than other people do. So stop worrying about being perfect. Done is better than perfect. I'm telling you, just do it and do it scared. Just do it and do it scared. Done is better than perfect.